Every second, the sun generates a colossal amount of energy, roughly the same as 100 billion hydrogen bombs. Thanks to this energy, Earth is warm, bright, and full of life. Trees grow, rivers flow, and flowers bloom. But what if something happened to our star? We would be in serious trouble. However, that's not the topic of discussion today. If we gather all the solar energy that our planet receives in a day, it would amount to approximately 170 trillion kilowatts. I've mentioned this in a previous video, but here's a new question. What would happen if we focused all these solar rays into one gigantic, meter-wide laser and aimed it directly at Earth? Such an apocalyptic scenario is hard to even imagine. I won't keep you in suspense. If you were caught in the path of this beam, you would instantly cease to exist as a biological entity and become a physical phenomenon. Yes, you would be instantly incinerated. And what about the others? Don't worry, they wouldn't have it any better because the beam would destroy everything. However, if you were on the other side of the planet, you might have a chance to survive. You might even manage to jump into a spaceship and escape, say, to Mars. As soon as we activate this super laser, Earth would be plunged into darkness, but that would be far from the worst problem. When the concentrated beam reaches the atmosphere, the air at the impact point will heat up to millions of degrees in a fraction of a second. And when air reaches such temperatures, atoms lose their electrons, turning into plasma. And as we know, plasma allows X-rays to pass through much more easily than ordinary air. X-ray radiation will penetrate the atmosphere without resistance, heating it up dramatically, but eventually it will be stopped by the scorching plasma layer. However, by then, the process will already be unstoppable. The beam will continue piercing through the atmosphere, heating new layers of air and triggering a chain reaction. The plasma sphere will expand, spreading further and further, turning everything in its path into a fiery inferno. Additionally, part of the atmosphere will simply be ejected into space, while the remaining air will start reflecting light back onto Earth, accelerating the catastrophe. The speed of destruction will depend on many factors, but all this time, the moon will remain in its usual phase. Once the beam concentrates all the sunlight into a single point, the moon will no longer be visible. However, when the radiation reaches the atmosphere, part of the light will reflect off it, illuminating the moon. And this flash will be the last moonlight you will ever see. Depending on your location, even the reflected lunar light could be enough to instantly incinerate you and everything around you. Thus, this hellish beam will have an assistant that speeds up Earth's destruction. But here's an important question. Will this laser be able to keep moving targets in its sights? If not, in just 3 minutes, Earth will move out of the danger zone. However, by that point, the atmosphere and surface of the planet will be nearly gone, and its charred remains will continue orbiting the sun. In that case, the beam will continue its journey into deep space. If, years later, it reaches another star system, it will have lost much of its power and won't be able to destroy new planets. However, its brightness will still be strong enough to cause serious damage to any celestial body it encounters. From all this, we can draw an important conclusion. Solar rays in their natural state are essential for our existence. But if we could gather them into a single stream, it would be a death sentence for the entire planet. Of course, such an event is highly unlikely, but who knows what secrets the universe holds? Finally, I have a question for you. If you had the ability to create such a weapon, would you use it against Earth? That's all for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and share it with your friends. It's the best way to support our channel. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss out on the most interesting content.